Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the United State, brought to you by Gallowgateshots. Really happy to be here. My name's Shade. You might know me as the SoCal Geordie on Twitter. This is my co-host, Rich. He lives in San Diego as well. Hey, Rich, how you doing?
Doing good, Shade. How are you doing?
Doing well. I'm excited to finally get this started. It's been a minute since we made the announcement, and I know we've been talking plans and everything like that. So I'm really happy that we're here. I'm really, really grateful that Gallowgateshots reached out and wanted to do something like this because, it's an exciting time to it's exciting to have the opportunity. I don't know if it's necessarily an exciting time to be a Newcastle fan.
No, exactly. You know what, though? I think, being a Geordie in San Diego, you do get a little bit of homesickness from time to time. And what I found was, there's a few podcasts like the Gallowgateshots, like the True Faith, like the NUFC TV fans, and all the guys are great. And you get to remember, like, the pessimism, but also the optimism if something goes right and wrong, and then the accents and just like little things here and there, and just we're all trying to figure out, like, what the next steps are for Newcastle United. All sharing our frustrations with the ownership, the management, the players, that kind of thing, the media, the buyout, the takeover. All these things we're going to discuss. So
yeah, no, definitely, and I totally agree. It's definitely my home away from home, as you know,
right.
And so to have you in San Diego and a couple other proper Geordies as well always makes the sting of missing the Northeast and that beautiful city just a little bit easier. Especially after spending so much time not really having anyone to watch the football with.
Right, exactly. That's it.
Yeah. But just kind of getting into it, we wanted to do this introductory episode to kind of tell you a little bit about ourselves, our stories, how we came to be in San Diego together, crying and laughing and cheering on Newcastle with really beautiful weather. And then also, talk a little bit about current events for Newcastle United as well. Mainly our last match against Leeds, and just let you guys get to kind of have a better understanding of who we are and how we came to be and how we came to be doing this together. And then we'll tell you a little bit about what we have planned for this show going forward. So this is more like a introductory episode 0 kind of deal. Just us two kind of sharing a bit about us, and then telling you kind of what we have planned for episode 2, which will be the official launch of the proper format and everything like that.
That's right.
But I think that some of our listeners and stuff like that definitely know me from Twitter and everything, not to toot my own horn or anything like that, but you're very new to Twitter.
brand new. That's it. Yeah. Like set up like 4 or 5 years ago, and I was like, right, we're going to be exclusively Newcastle on my Twitter account. That's it.
Yeah, we'll get you there. We'll get
we'll get that set up tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, that's your homework for the week. Is
that's it. That's right.
Learn social media and start to utilize it.
Exactly.
But okay, so Rich, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, obviously, I know you're from Newcastle, and I know quite a bit about you and everything like that. But how did you become a Newcastle fan? I mean, obviously, you were born into it. You didn't really have a choice. But maybe you want to talk a little bit about the early days as a Newcastle fan for you.
Yeah, no choice when you get born into it, for sure. It's a way of life, in Newcastle. But basically, to be brutally honest, in the first 10, 15 years of my life, because Newcastle were down in the kind of the second division, you had managers. You had Jim Smith. I think he managed Derby County and that kind of thing, and then the stadium was run down, so that it was kind of like tossed aside, a bit of an afterthought of the previous owner before Sir John Hall. But I picked players I picked teams like Liverpool, Tottenham, Man U, just to kind of just a different team each season. But then my dad finally took me to a Europe.
Glory-seeking child, then, is what you're saying.
That's it. Yeah. But no. To be honest, though, that my dad always said about we're going to go see Newcastle first game. So he takes me to see Newcastle, and I think I'm about like 16, 15 at the time, and we're playing Roma in the European, like the UEFA Cup or something. And
Wow.
I just seeing, just coming in, and we were, at the Gallowgate end, two or three seats from the pitch, and you just wander around. You've got like 40,000 people. This was just by the way before they were extending the stadium,
Yeah.
and you've got 40,000 people around you, 37,000 at that point, and it's a crisp in the air. It's a kind of a dark evening, a moist evening in Newcastle, and the hairs in the back of your neck are standing up, and then obviously they play the walkout music, right? So obviously all that operatic thematic music, and very slowly, and I was like, what's about to happen? You know what I mean? So, and those players, like obviously you had Bobby Robson leading out the team, you had Alan Shearer, Duncan Ferguson, players who Robert Lee, Gary Speed, Alberto Solano getting stuck in to the team, and obviously you've got a team of superstars with Totti, and I'm trying to think of the goalkeeper for Roma at the time, but we just played them off the park, hit the post. I think it was either a 0-0 or a 1-0. I can't remember the exact scoreline, but just to see that experience as a young lad, I was like 15, 16 years old. I was like, right, I'm hooked now. It doesn't matter where we are, you know what I mean? But that for me, because you hear all the shouts from the stands and the passion and the glory, the noise of the stands and the stadium. Yourself from walking up down the stairs in St. James's Park. There's just a different feeling about it when you go there.
There's nothing like it.
It's a cauldron. It's a cauldron of noise.
Yeah.
And in Newcastle, because Newcastle's not very light, so there's a lot of darkness. So there's a unique atmosphere that we haven't had for a while. That was brought back, from Kevin Keegan and Bobby Robson as well, and even that to some extent part of Dalglish or Ruud Gullit when we did FA Cup runs. But no, when Robson was there and Keegan was there, it was just fantastic. So it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I'm
and then
jealous.
obviously, and then just seeing the progression, like compared to now, because obviously Bobby Robson was a real man manager, and he didn't. Yeah. He had zero pounds to work with. Getting Kevin Gallagher on a free transfer, players like that, just took the bare bones of what he's had. He had a bit more to work with than Steve Brewster's now. I mean, I think good players now, but to me, the difference is the leadership in the team. From back then, you had probably a leader in every position, and just seeing that. Growing up 15, 16, and then my early 20s. I'm almost 40 to the listeners, by the way. So that's it. It's been a while. So
you got 2 years on me, mate.
That's it, mate. That's it. And I'll keep that's it. San Diego weather keeps me young. But basically, no, and seeing that progression, and then obviously, Robson got us into the Champions League. So it was exciting. It was like there was a real journey to get there. The progression of the team, and like every bit we got a little bit better. We bought a new player, Bellamy, Dyer, Jermaine Genius, Woodgate, and all these French players, Lauren Robert, all these little drip feed. Got rid of others a little bit, and then obviously, unfortunately, we had Bobby Robson a bit too late. So, and then the rest is kind of like it's been a bit of a fizzle since then. It's been a kind of false start since then.
I know.
And then,
and unfortunately, that's all I've been able to experience.
I know. I'm so sorry, but just to wrap.
It's nice to. I mean, like obviously, I would love to have been a fan during those days and everything like that. But I will admit, one of my favorite things, living in Newcastle, but even just meeting fellow Geordies out here, especially ones that are older than me, is I just love hearing them talk about the good old days. I love because it bleeds from you. It's not something that people just talk about it like it was something that happened. It was something way more than that. And you can tell by, I could tell by every Geordie that I've ever talked to about those things, and about the good old days, and about the Robbie Robson days and the Keegan days and stuff like that. And, being in the Champions League and everything, the best I had was I moved there during our last season in the Europa League, right? So I got 2 Europa League matches in.
There you go.
And and like, I mean, I guess that's our biggest accomplishment. Placing fifth and then, and then having Europa League would probably be one of our biggest accomplishments, especially in the modern day era of football.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. What was the first the story? What was the first game? Remember the first game?
First game in Europe or the first match ever?
Oh, first match ever for you.
Oh, some people already know this because I just love telling it, but it was 2012. So it was Norwich versus Newcastle, obviously at St. James Park.
Okay.
Party was our manager. It was
yeah.
Chris Hughton's return to Newcastle since he'd been sacked.
Okay.
Norwich. We won 1-0, courtesy of Demba Ba. And I just remember I'd gone with my mate who was actually from Norwich because he was going to Northumbria Uni and I was going to Newcastle Uni. And we played rugby together in Cal State Fullerton. So it was very, very just a lovely coincidence that we both ended up going to grad school in Newcastle.
Oh, for sure.
And so he was telling me he knew I loved football and stuff like that. I didn't necessarily have a club at the time, or an English club anyways. I'd come in through international football supporting Mexico. And because my family's Mexican, but he's like, you have to go, you have to go see a match. He's like, Norwich are playing this weekend, I'll get us tickets. And I was like, okay. And the first thing I remember, that whole day was magical for me, but the first thing I remember is, I forget which pub we were at, but you could just see people in their jerseys, all these black and whites, just coming out of everywhere.
That's it. That's
going
right.
to the center of this stadium, right? This, as you know, right? As everyone knows. And that was insane to me because, especially growing up in the Los Angeles area where, Staples Center is so far removed from the center of Los Angeles, and there was no stadium in the town I grew up in. There's no club there or anything like that. And MLS at the time was whatever. And, if you lived in the LA area, the only team at the time was the LA Galaxy, and they play in Carson, which if you're from LA, that's not LA, that's so far away that I don't even think they actually have LA supporters. And so to see something like that, was insane to me. I was like, whoa, this is like religion. And, and then we finished a couple more pints and I was like, I like to get there early, especially if it's a new experience, right? I don't want to just walk in right at, as I got further down the line of going to the matches, it was, all right, how many pints can we get in before we've got to get in? But that first day I was like, let's go in a little early. I really want to experience this.
Nice.
And I remember we walked up the steps and went in through the turnstiles. And I remember the turnstiles were something I'd seen out of a movie. And I was like, this is crazy. And then we went inside and before the game had even started, it was already intoxicating. The atmosphere there and it was a sold out match and everyone was there and everyone was in such a good mood and everyone was so nice. And then when Ba got that goal and the stadium just erupted.
Yeah.
I was done. I was completely done. There was no which way to cut it. I was Newcastle till I die after that moment. And so, yes, that was my first Newcastle experience. And, I'm grateful that it was a win. I would argue, Rafa aside, of course, out of the managers I've had, obviously Pardew's the second best.
For sure. Even Pardew, we still had, I think we had Andy Carroll. I'm trying to think when I watched I think it was the season before Andy Carroll got sold.
He was gone by the time I got there.
Liverpool, right? Because I remember Andy Carroll I think he banged in several goals before I think they sold him in the transfer window. I'm trying to think because we beat Liverpool at St. James's Park the season before. At home. And Andy Carroll scored I think it was 3, must have been 3-0 or 3-1 to Newcastle. Great game, Pardew. And I think then the transfer window next I think that's in January. I'll have to look that up to confirm. But basically they sold Andy Carroll for 40 million quid. And then that to me as well was kind of the start of, because you look at Andy Carroll's career, after us, plagued by like a lot of pressure at Liverpool, plagued by injuries. I'm not saying he wouldn't have got them with us, but sometimes I feel that like players get moved on a bit quickly for a big price tag, and you see a huge pressure in that mental health of the player, and then the career just kind of fizzles out. Too much beer, not not really guided correctly. So that was my kind of like memory of that, basically, because I think we finished like top half the table that season. So
yeah, no, I'm pretty sure we did. Yeah, we did as well. Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And I went to every match I could basically after that. It was just I needed to be a part of it. And then yeah, and so I like was going to games and stuff like that. I don't know, were you still in Newcastle from 2012 to 2015?
No, I was actually in Oxford. So I left Newcastle in 2003, 2004. I went to Oxford Brookes University. So Oxford Brookes University is kind of like the poor man's Oxford, like kind of thing.
I actually almost went. I got accepted there, and I got accepted to Newcastle Uni. I chose Newcastle.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, exactly. Yeah. Newcastle Uni actually is pretty good university, so it's pretty tough.
I loved it. Yeah,
pretty tough to get into actually. So yeah, I did coaching studies in Oxford Brookes. So I kept in touch with the lads, and I had similar to what we do over here. We'd always meet like several guys down the pub. The pub Oxford, or the City Arms on Cowley Road in Oxford, and again there was good times because obviously Robson was still there, and then I think my second year he got sacked, and then obviously we got Souness, and then managers after that, basically. So yeah, and then graduated in 2007-8, and then moved to London, and I watched Newcastle at all the London grounds, like Crystal Palace. I remember one night in Fulham, Craven Cottage.
Yeah,
we won. It was so funny. One of the away fans for Newcastle is a big guy, got NUFC across his chest, big guy, shirt off. I was like, that's a Newcastle fan. Obviously, I'd been in the south too long, because I had a big fur coat on with it. You see my eyes, it was bloody freezing that night.
Oh no!
We draw out. We ground out a kind of 1-0 win. Joey Bottom nicked the win for us, 1-0 Craven Cottage. But that's another thing as well. So that was good times,
That's cool. Yeah. I actually finished reading his book, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like last week. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I don't know what's going on with him right now because the allegations and everything that just happened and everything. But until we kind of know, I won't speak on that. But I really did enjoy the book. I enjoyed kind of learning about him as a player and stuff like that. But most importantly, I just enjoyed reading about when he was at Newcastle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's a shame that he was plagued with so many injuries.
Did he speak like highly of Newcastle, or?
Yeah, he really did. He spoke really highly of Newcastle. The thing that kind of bothered me was he did speak pretty highly of Sam Allardyce as well, and like I don't like Fat Sam, and I don't rate him and everything like that. So like that was, but I mean that was the manager that recruited him, so maybe he saw something in that when that happened and everything like that. But obviously I don't think that many Newcastle fans would feel the same about Allardyce.
Listen, when Allardyce came in, Newcastle fans, the general feeling of the fans base, not to speak on every fan, but no, I think it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Proven track record at Bolton, not too much money, effective style of football, played a long ball. First 3-4 games, quite effective, some good wins. I know we had Obafemi Martins as our main striker, but effective. Did play a bit deeper, but very effective with getting balls in the box and getting people in the box and that long ball style. But it just long term just didn't work for Newcastle. And then I think we had a really bad run of results. And then he he didn't last the season. So
yeah, he talked about that as well and everything. But he had nothing but good things to say about the city and the club and the supporters and everything. So I respect that, and it was a good read. But
nice.
Yeah. So you were down south during those days, and I hadn't discovered Newcastle yet.
Yeah.
And then, so you stayed down south for a while then after that, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, that was it. I left Newcastle 2003 and then, university there. And didn't really have the opportunities to come back up in Newcastle. Had a business that was failing. That had a business opportunity in the south of England that I could take on. It was a gym, kind of a holistic yoga studio, chiropractic, physiotherapy.
Yeah.
So I bought that and we kind of made a go of it. And that was great for 6 years, basically from 7 years, 6 years, from 2009 to 2015. Basically. Okay. So yeah, I moved around.
You were there doing that when I was discovering the Northeast for the first time in my life.
Discovering they have a great time with all those lads and lasses. That's it. That's it.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it was definitely it's an experience that I'm probably I'm most grateful for. It's given me so much, but it was just I loved being there so much, and like I had my like go-to spots and everything like that I can't wait to get back to.
Did you enjoy the big market or the quayside?
I always ended up in the big market, but I'll never forget my first experience in the big market. Like I was like, it had to have been after a match day. Cause before the match, I always met my mates at Shark Club across the street.
Oh yeah.
We'd always stay there for a few pints. And then we'd go to that, I forget the name. It's that Irish bar that's across the street from St. James Park, right across the street from, is it Rosie's as well?
Roses. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been there. So
yeah. And so like we'd go there and I loved going there because it was like like a lot of the more like old school supporters would be there and stuff like that, and you get a bit of that banter in as well. And then get playing in and everything. And then usually if I was looking for a ticket, there was at least somebody there that was going to make sure I had one.
Oh, nice.
And then we go into the match like that, and we usually end up in big market after the match at some point. And the first place I ever went to down there was at Pop World.
Oh, right.
I think it was that place. And I just remember being like, what is this shit show that I am now living in?
Know, right? Yeah, it's chaos.
But I loved it. It was, obviously fun chaos, right?
Oh, for sure. And it was like those bars in Newcastle. I remember growing up like 18, 19 years old. Drinks were cheap, and they're all like vodka Red Bull, vodka Recharge, this and that. It's all about a mission to get like wasted.
Yeah. Oh, I'll never forget my first experience with trebles.
Oh,
because that's not a thing here, right? So I didn't know what trebles were, right? And so like I went out there. I was going to uni, and I was also playing rugby. And the lads on the rugby team like, oh, we're gonna take you for a proper night out. And this was like before I started hanging out with like the Newcastle boys and everything like that.
Right.
And like they're like, have you ever been to a trebles bar? And I'm like, nah, I don't. What's a trebles bar? And they're like, oh, we gotta take you to a trebles bar. I was like, okay. And so we went to what was it called? It had the cage inside. Is it Idols? I think. Sinners. Yeah, we went to Sinners, and so like they're like, oh, it was 3 trebles for $5, and I'm like, wait, it's 3 drinks for £5? And I think I even said dollars at the time because I'd only been there for a week.
Right.
They're like, yeah, and I was like I was coming from Los Angeles, right, where like a vodka Red Bull is $15, right? So it's like,
oh my God,
quid, right? And and so like I'm like, what are trebles? They're like, don't worry about them, just take the ice out and chug them. I'm like, oh, all right. And so I took the ice out, chugged all 3.
There we go.
I don't remember how many trebles I had because I lost count after the 3rd round of 3 for a $5.
Right.
I just remember that I woke up at a spot that wasn't the place I was staying at. I was missing a shoe. I had a terrible headache.
Oh, wow.
And then I had to find my way back without a cell phone because I hadn't gotten one yet.
Missing a shoe. It's classic.
The shoe was outside the front porch of the house I ended up at, which was like a different team member's house, but it was yeah.
Oh, chaos.
Found the shoe.
It's great. No, it's a great night out. I remember I think the last night I went out, I ended up in Baja Beach Club. Baja Beach Club. It's across the bridge. I think if memory serves correctly, it's like across the bridge there's Buffalo Joe. Well, I don't know if it's still there, but it was Buffalo Joe's or Buffalo something, and then it's like a kind of a Western style bar.
Okay.
And they had the girls on aftershocks, right? So aftershock with this aniseed, like a red and blue aftershock, right? So they're like gunslingers, right? So the girl was like, get on your knees. We're gonna keep this PG-13, but basically, she just like pause the aftershocks, two at once, like a stream. I'm just like, oh my god, just like. I was like, this is a magical place.
I remember that's exactly how I felt. I was like, this place is just magical.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
No, how do the one question before we move? What did the local ladies think of the American accent? Did they like the American accent?
Some did, some not so much. I don't like the accent. I think that, like, in my 20s, I was a little, a little more obnoxious of an American at the time. And also, like, I loved the Geordie lasses, like, yeah, no, it worked pretty well. Like, I would go out with my mates, and some of them would always like drop. They're like, "Oh yeah, my mate from Los Angeles," and they'd be like, "Los Angeles," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm from Los Angeles."
Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, they're like, "What's that like?" and stuff like that. So it was always a good conversation starter.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah, and I met some great ladies out there, but more importantly, like, I met some of my best friends in the world. And I'm grateful for that. Like, we talk at least 3 times a week still, even if it's just chat. And and they've been with me through the thick and thin, even since I left. I've been away now for 6 years, almost 6 years, and it's like we just have that kind of bond that really just never seems to fizzle down, and only just keeps kind of staying as strong as it was when I was living there. And that's what I'm equally as grateful for. And and Newcastle United gave me that as well, because I would go to the matches by myself just because I wanted to go. And and the students, like, I was a student as well, but like, the students, they you'd get maybe one or two that would just want to go for the experience, and that's cool. But like I was at the point where I was already like, I'm not going for the experience. Like, I'm going because I fucking love this club. And so, like, I'm hooked. Like, I need this on a weekend. And then I would start seeing some of the same faces. And then I would go to a lot of gigs because I love live music and I love punk rock and stuff like that. And I met a couple of guys that were in bands in the local scene, and 2 of them specifically, my buddy Rainer and my buddy Jax, and they kind of really took me under their wing and started introducing me to other people that were more local and stuff like that, and kind of got me out of my student bubble. And then I met my other best friend, Joe Bullymore, and like, all 3 of us like came really tight. And then there was one other student who was going to Northumbria. His name's Dom, and he's from Manchester. So, but he just liked hanging out, and he was good for a laugh. And so, and he's a good lad, right? And so then we all that kind of became like my crew. And then I would start seeing Joe at the matches, and then he'd be like, "Hey, mate, like, you ever need a ticket? Like, let me know." Perfect. And then I'd start hitting him up all the time because I was tired of trying to have to find tickets, right? And
that's great.
Before I knew it, like, it's just like, "Oh, you want to get a pint before the match?" I'm like, yeah. And then we'd get on it, and then we've all been best friends ever since.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, it's a lifelong community. That's it.
Yeah.
Once you're in, you're in. And then, as you mentioned, like, going to the game by yourself, getting the bus there, or little bits and pieces, driving there, just getting on your own. You always like you crack on to what's going on the pitch.
Yeah,
you've always got an old boy beside you, a family. Someone's allowed. So you always like and you get I remember being on a away day at Liverpool at Anfield. I mean, it's just great banter. It's just banter. You meet people. How are you away from? That kind of thing. Like, just outside Newcastle. Oh yeah, I know that place. Because
I'll never forget my first away day.
It
was actually my buddy Joe took me because I was getting ready. I was coming to the tail end of my visa, so I knew I was gonna have to leave soon. Right. And Joe was like, "You have to get an away day in before you go. You can't not experience it." And I'm like, "I want to so bad." And he took me to go see some of my last season living there. It was he took me to Old Trafford away, so against Man United, obviously, and we actually played our like one of our best away days
There you
at Old
go.
Trafford in a while.
Oh,
We kept it to a draw. It was at the tail end of Colaccini's career with us, so he was at that phase where he was hit and miss, right? Where like you didn't know which Colaccini was going to show up, and he showed up that match. And Wayne Rooney had a disallowed goal,
great.
and we kept it to 0-0. I'm pretty sure it was McLaren because we got Rafa right after. Yeah, so it had to have been McLaren, right? Like one of McLaren's good games for us, right?
Sure.
Because we got relegated after I moved. Yeah, so it was McLaren.
Yeah.
And it was just the banter, like all the Manchester fans throwing shit at us and yelling and everything. None of us cared because we were all louder than the entire stadium anyway. Oh, I loved it, man. And the banter was just, there's nothing like it.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was great. But I mean, I could talk about that stuff all the time, but we kind of keep moving forward and stuff.
Definitely.
So 2015 is, 2015, 2016 is kind of my last year in Newcastle.
Yep.
You're down south. So I guess maybe we should talk about how we've both ended up where we're at now, because now, we're both obviously members of Toon Army San Diego. And
that's right.
I see you at least 3 times a week now, which is hilarious. But
it's great.
But I'm guaranteed to see you on a match day. So so you're living down south. How do you end up on the sunny west coast of America?
Well, my ex, I was doing a long distance relationship with my now ex-wife. So, but we moved here in San Diego in 2015.
Okay, and you had met her out there, correct?
I met her in Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
I was working
in Minnesota.
I was working at a summer camp. I was a counselor, so we led the kids on the lakes, outdoors all the time, tennis, taught them how to play cricket. We made up different games, different ball games. Foursquare. It's all the stuff like you see Camp America, or like if you ever see like Wet Hot American Summer. Nothing like that, but just like it's more wholesome. It's really kind of a good leadership camp to take the kids. I recommend kids should do it. It's quite expensive, but it's so worth it because the parents want to get rid of their kids. Excuse me, for that. So met Emily there back in 2012. Long distance. Fast forward, got married. She moved over to the UK. I sold my business. I moved here to San Diego.
Okay, and so you came straight from London to San Diego then?
Just outside London, out Henley-on-Thames, straight to San Diego. We were like, right, I want some sunshine. Let's go San Diego. She had a good job, and then since then I've been trying to figure out, again, just trying to. I like San Diego, so love a few cities in America, but San Diego we're stuck. And there's the longer you live in San Diego, the more people you realize that expats or people from Ireland are here, or the Eastern Europe are here, or different parts. We're all transplants. Come.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally agree with that.
I rarely meet a local San Diegan. You know what I mean?
No, it is rare. I mean, we've got a couple in the group now, which is nice. But
right, exactly, that's it.
But okay, so tell me about kind of. Because I mean, we can talk about how we met, and we'll get to that in a second. Because I think that's funny. But what was being a Newcastle United supporter like pre, kind of the group that we have now? Before I moved here and everything like that. What was that like for you? Because
then
you can kind of preface how you and me came to cross paths.
Yeah, for sure. To be honest, but before, because I was watching the games, down the Shakespeare. And again, because obviously the first year we were here, I can't think where we ended up 2015, but then the next year we got relegated.
Yeah.
So then we weren't on the
really watch anything anywhere.
We weren't on the TV, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like
that year sucked.
We got back up 2017, then 2017, 2018, Rafa's there, and watch the odd game because we're not televised that often. So then obviously with work and at the Shakespeare or that kind of thing. And to be honest, it's like a couple of Toon fans, 2 or 3 fans, and you try to make friends with them.
Yeah.
Simon, we'll mention Simon, but I think when individuals that are there, and sometimes if one person's not really into it, then it's quite hard to congeal a group of solid people to get together and get a momentum going, which is what what we got going now.
Yeah.
So it was pretty grim, really being a Toon fan, very isolated.
Yeah.
But you just keep the faith, don't you? You keep showing up. You keep
always.
showing up. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, there's people watching Newcastle. So it's like during the pandemic, basically.
Yeah, because I mean, it was pretty.
That's basically it. Because you think, I'm trying to think what was the highest position. Rafa, was it 10th or 12th or something?
12th, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember Rafa having a difficult mid-season, his last season, and then having a run of games that were good, beating Leicester away, that kind of thing, quite comfortably.
Yeah.
It's a nice football. I always like Rafa's football, quite organised. But then it was like Steve Bruce's turn, pandemic. I got divorced. A whole fire was going on in everywhere in the whole world, basically. You know what I mean?
No.
Luckily, my new place that I moved into down the street from the pub, the Shakespeare pub in San Diego, quite a famous British pub. And then I walked in, and then this, you were there basically. You and Graham were there.
Yeah. So I mean, it was pretty similar for me. I moved back with my previous partner as well, and we were living in Los Angeles, and there is a Toon Army LA, and if anyone listening is ever in LA, I highly recommend looking them up. They're a great bunch of people. Unfortunately, at the time for me, the first season that we were there, we were relegated, so there wasn't really any meetups that were being advertised because we had no television, no TV rights except for the odd one that would be on ESPN Plus every now and then. And I remember like that season was hard for me because I was already homesick, and I say homesick because like I look at Newcastle as my home. Exactly. And it has such a big part of me. And so I was really grieving being away from that and being away from my support system and being away from the fans, right? And being away from football. And then not even have it on the telly was just awful. And like I remember I would listen to live radio broadcasts of the games. Like I get up 4 a.m., find some radio station online that was broadcasting it and listen to that. And I think the lowest that I got was some kid, and I say kid because he was like 14 years old, like was following me on Instagram, and he's like, "Hey mate," he's like, "follow my live stream," and he was just holding his phone up at St. James Park, like with a dodgy connection, right? And I remember I watched that whole game on his phone, right? And I was just like, this is the lowest it has to get. And then obviously popped up, right? And then, and I spent a few more years in LA, and that was still very hard because, LA is so big that I think that's the problem that maybe Toon Army LA faced. I don't know, and I don't want to speak for them. I'm sure we'll talk to them at some point. But I can only imagine that that's got to be very difficult when you do have, a limited amount of fans, but LA is so big, it's hard to have one home for them. And so I never really sought it out. And I knew that there were people getting together in Pasadena, but that was 30 minutes from me. And, that was either $100 Uber in LA or it was, and then I was going to go and not be able to have a pint, which, I'm not going to drink and drive. And so like, it just wasn't, it wasn't feasible at the time.
It's a zoo. Sorry, I cut you off, but it's a zoo. Like it's a total zoo. LA, like speaking, as a Brit coming over, San Diego is so nice to get around.
It's lovely. Yeah, it's delightful.
There's like no traffic. Like California, like Southern California. If you're from Southern California, they'll whinge about the 5. I'm like, dude, like when you go to the 4 or 5 in Los Angeles, or the one, whatever, I don't know all these numbers, but like the 10 or whatever it is.
Yeah, the 10, the 60, the 210, they're all nightmares. Yeah.
If you basically look at rush hour every day, or even like the whole day, it looks like spaghetti sauce, just like the roll red.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. And so it made it really difficult to interact really with anyone. Like that's the hard part about that city. And and then I'd been wanting to leave for a while, and it was just hard to leave because I had a job that was keeping me there. And me and my partner split up as well, very similar to you. And,
of course,
and I decided to make a career change, and the pandemic kind of presented an opportunity to do that because I could kind of work remote. and so I packed up all my stuff and I moved down here and I and then randomly, I met Graham through social
Yeah,
media. He's another member of our group,
that's it.
aka the Godfather.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
and we decided to just check Shakespeare's out mainly because it's a Man United bar and Man United were playing Newcastle that day.
Right.
And and then I saw you, and I didn't know at first because we didn't talk to each other or anything like that. I didn't know if you were Man United or not, right? Because
Yeah.
like I'm just so used to not meeting Newcastle fans, and then I saw you like the connection was dodgy. So you were listening to the updates on your phone, and I just saw in the corner that it said NUFC, and I was like, "Hey, mate," I was like, "You Newcastle?" And you were like, "Yeah," like all like a Geordie should say it, like, "Yeah," like what else would I be? And I was like, "This guy's gonna belong to me soon,"
Yeah, you are the recruiter, which is really good actually. Yeah, what's up, man?
I'm like, "I'm gonna bug you forever now."
I mean, oh no, it's been a pleasure though. No, it's been a real pleasure for sure.
Yeah, what I mean? So like that's kind of how we came to be and ever since then it's just been this really, really nice momentum that, you know, given the current state of Newcastle United, and we'll talk a bit about current events in a moment,
Right.
but I am really, really grateful that this momentum's caught on because, we do have for a West Coast US based supporters group, we've got a pretty good squad now and I don't even think we've had a match day where everyone that's on the group chat has been able to make it, right?
Oh
It's
no, yeah.
usually, and we've got a place that hosts us and, big shout out to Rodney and Bluefoot
Yeah.
for always giving us the love and making sure that, our pints are never empty and our television's always got Newcastle on. We really appreciate that. But
Yeah.
it's been so great because, it like my whole thing is, if I have to stay here, and I say it to everyone, like I'll bring as much of Newcastle as I possibly can to me. And another reason why I'm so grateful to have this show with you now as
Yeah.
well. And the Gallowgates kind of recognize that. Like we had 10 proper supporters with us last week, and
It
that
was
was great.
it was amazing. What a great
And
aspect.
that's how it should be, because like that's how I look at it. Like
Yeah.
it baffles me, I mean, I understand it, but it baffles me that so many people, like will run to these big clubs that really have nothing behind them and overlook something so beautiful. And that's just, that's not their fault, right? I don't
Yeah.
blame them. I just like biasly am like, what's wrong with you? Like, like there is nothing like being a Newcastle fan.
You
you
know,
know,
exactly,
all
no,
10 points, right? But
exactly. No, it's so true. But that's something to say though. Like we can get a good group together when we're really, really crap right
yeah,
now.
yeah. And I mean, going off of that, like really, really grateful to have Toon Army San Diego and everything like that. And
So
big
grateful.
shout out to them, nothing but love. But it is true, we aren't. And I even said it. I went on Fan Zone at the beginning of the season, and I said, like I hope we sign Willock, but
Yep.
it doesn't look like we're doing anything else. And I think we're
No,
looking at a wash, rinse, repeat of last season, and that's really what it looks like right now.
yeah, it really does. But just to go like with the pandemic, that what it kept us going. The like the lockdown without the fans.
Yeah, yeah.
I was every week I was like NUFC on the Google search. I was like, what's Bruce saying? What's tactics? Who's in
Yeah,
there?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
The momentum built together, and obviously we got together right to kind of wrap that up. And obviously, a big shout out to Rodney, the Bluefoot. He's really made the bar. We have a nice bar in San Diego.
Yeah.
That, he's really made it a neutral bar. Like you
Yeah.
you get some Arsenal fans. Not much to shout about this season,
No.
So it's so good. So Tottenham fans or whatever, or Man City fans, not much to shout about on Saturday. It's great. It's great. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's good. It's become like, it's not a Newcastle bar.
no,
But that's okay. We don't need it to be a Newcastle bar, but what we do need is a place where we can feel like we're at home. And
that's right.
and Rodney's really made sure that we have that. And so for anyone listening, you decide to come out in San Diego, hang out with all of us, like we have a great spot that we're given the respect and the love that we deserve as Newcastle fans. And we're really, really grateful to have that. But yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, but to go back, I mean, I totally, you know, I was coming postseason because we finished pretty good. 12th. Willick was,
luckily,
you
like,
know,
I
but we
mean,
had
that was all Willick and Graham
all
Jones.
Willick. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Willick momentum carried us through. Wilson
yeah,
and Teague were fit, and you go, all right, great. Pandemic, who we're going to sign? We'll probably, well, there's not going to be that much money to splash. We know that Ashley's not going to do too much.
yeah,
I pretty was confident that we'd sign Willick, and we did. But I was disappointed that we couldn't get like a free transfer over the line or a loan deal, because if you look at the other teams who strengthened, but we're looking at, but now I'm really worried, as I said at the start of the show, is I'm looking at like Villa putting 3 past Everton on
yeah,
Saturday. Look at Rafa, Everton, they got Brentford there up for the cup. Watford just beat Norwich on
yeah.
Saturday. That's going to be a difficult game this season because we're this week. Sorry, we're away to Watford this weekend. So
I know, and to be honest, like Watford, I feel like they've just been unlucky
yeah,
with their fixtures. I think that the chances that they're creating and the forward momentum that they have is something that can capitalize on our defensive mistakes.
mm-hmm.
And they also have something to prove, right? Because they do they do want to get it. They've gotten one win, right? I believe.
Which one? Watford.
Watford, yeah. But
they won last weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And so like I mean, it, it's no it wouldn't be any surprise to anybody if Watford are looking at this like this is ours to lose, right? Like we have to win this. We will win this.
Watford will be thinking that, you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Like
Yeah.
It's Watford's to lose. And and that concerns me and just kind of going back to the transfer window, and I know that we're now 5 weeks in and everything like that. So it's kind of old news, but
right.
I just can't I can't wrap my head. And we were talking about this offline. I can't wrap my head around some of these targets choosing clubs like Norwich over us, right? Like, fair enough. Maybe Norwich were willing to spend more money this season, and I'll let them have that.
Yep.
And I know that we always tend to lose out to clubs that are based in the South, right? Because you're closer to London and people can sell that London ticket to you and everything like that. And whatever. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why, when Norwich have a worse record than us for relegation and popping back. They're the definition of a yo-yo club, right?
Right.
So in that respect, right? I'm not going to put them on a higher pedestal than us, right? They are a yo-yo club.
Yeah.
So if you're coming over here and your fears are relegation, why are you signing with Norwich, right? Like they're almost guaranteed to go down again. They can't do a back-to-back season in the Prem for the life of them, right? And so it's like, and so, we've been relegated twice in the past 10 years under Ashley and everything like that. And those are factors. And we do tend to play boring football under Bruce and everything like that. Yeah. But, you come here and you're going to play unless you're Dwight Gale. And, and if you learn how Newcastle operates and you learn to play with passion for that crest, everyone's going to love you on top of it. Right. So, I just didn't understand why anyone in the world would want to go party in Yarmouth and live in Yarmouth over Newcastle, right? It makes sense to me. And obviously, I have a massive bias, but that's how I feel.
For sure. No, 100%. And but it just goes back to if the club was run properly.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think it's I mean, Steve Bruce. Yes, I'm not going to sing any praises, but he can. He's a championship manager. He's not really a Premiership. And I just wonder if his, wants to manage Newcastle on the resume. Just ditch Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah,
coming in.
Another notch on the belt.
Another notch on the belt. There we go. Yeah, I did hear that.
That's a big belt as well.
Right. Exactly. I don't want to bash too hard on Brucey, but I did hear that soundbite of just keep Newcastle taking along. And I was like, he mentioned that last Thursday or Friday, and I wonder if he gets words in his mouth sometimes.
I mean, the thing is I understand that excuse, but like I look at it as an excuse that isn't valid anymore, right? If you've been
Right,
a manager for that long,
right,
you know what
exactly.
the media is like, okay, if you say that Newcastle's your club and you've been a manager for that long, and you say that
Right,
you understand the fans and that you understand Newcastle, right?
exactly.
Then there's no excuse for it because you know that
Yes,
we're going to be critical, we're going to want explanations, we're going to want transparency, and we're going to want genuine managerial etiquette
right,
on tape for the journey for the journalists, right? Like those are all things that we expect, and I don't think that there's any manager in the right mind that isn't going to at least look at that going into a job. Like you would expect that you'd do some sort of homework going into a job. Now I don't think he did,
no.
but
Oh, no. No,
and
no,
so
no,
like
no.
for me, right, like and we talked about this prior to the cast and everything like that. Like we were going to go in not so critical, right?
Right.
Because like I said, like I understand the the frustration, and I carry that frustration, but I'm still I love our club, and I will
Oh,
love
yeah.
it to the day I die, and it doesn't matter whether I think we're going to win, lose, draw, or get relegated. Like I will always be up for the match, and I will always wear this crest with pride, right? And
Oh, of
so
course. Yeah.
but the ticking along thing really bothered me, right? And
Oh, for
and
sure.
and it bothered a lot of people, and
Yes.
rightfully so, because that's what we look at. Like we look at it like that. We look at
Right.
it like that. Like that's what Mike Ashley's doing with us. And
Yeah.
then for our manager to come out and be like, "Yeah, that's what I'm doing too." Is like, "Mate, really? Like you're really just going to like put that pie in our face?"
I know it is pie in the face because he does have these phrases, Brucey phrases. Well, I think we'll have to do a Brucey phrase every podcast. My favorite one is like, well, I keep saying it's the accumulation of points, like,
God, I can't wait to hear that for the last
well, the
20
best one's like,
years.
well, the Premier League is the Premier League. I'm just like, I know, Steve. It's just like 2021. It's just like, if you want to be an Aston, we want to be look at Villa, look at those mid-table teams that we used to look at, and we used to go,
Yeah.
away we could probably sneak a point or sneak a win. Sorry, at home definitely win, maybe draw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was what we if
Give it a go.
Everton would come Newcastle would go. You know what? Be tough, but we'll beat them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now it's like, oh, they're coming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even Chelsea, right? Like Chelsea would come up north, and it was like they didn't know how to handle the weather up there.
Oh yeah.
And we would just run them ragged, even when
Oh
they
yeah.
had Hazard. And like I loved Chelsea at home because I knew we were going to win.
Oh yeah.
Now this Chelsea, that's a whole different story, especially with our squad now. But before, like, didn't matter how good they had Eden Hazard. It didn't matter how good they were. We knew we could beat them on any
Yeah.
day.
And exactly. And even when before the shutdown, we played
Yeah.
Manchester United in September. So the year before I met you, September, October before, Matty Longstaff scores an absolute bullet. It's 1-0 to Newcastle.
Yeah.
Bloody marvelous. And like Steve Bruce, bloody marvelous. But that day, Newcastle, run them off the pitch. Like it's great. And I just feel that the confidence of the players at the moment, because I think with Steve Bruce constantly changing formation, going from like a 3-5-2 to a 4-3 or 4-2.
Out of position. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well,
Playing players out of position.
now he's trying if Wilson gets injured, he's like, I'm just gonna just do,
I'm just gonna play with no striker.
Maxi up front.
Yeah.
And
But
I'm not
winger and whatever Joelinton is up front and hope for the best.
right.
And it's and then that's the thing too is there's been a regression. There's been a massive regression with a lot of players. Like I'm happy to see Sean getting back into the first squad. I don't think that loaning out Matty was wise when we already can't play Hayden at his preferred position where he's the strongest. We still have to play him as a center back, right? And
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on there. Like,
that's frustrating because he's just such a better defensive midfielder. And
he is. He's better at protecting. He's better at protecting the defense.
Exactly, and we've needed that because so many people have capitalized on our defensive mistakes.
You've got for me, I don't know like what's going on with Lascelles and Shaw. Why aren't they playing?
I don't know either. And on paper, right, they're our two best, right, and
the two most consistent.
Yeah, exactly, right. And
I like Brucey. Like he throws in Fernandez, and like what I've noticed about Brucey, he'll play them, and if it's going like a draw, win, or draw, like Fernandez and Clark, and then if it goes completely out the window, we get thrashed. Right, you're dropped. Put Shaw back in, Lascelles.
Yeah.
He doesn't know his best team.
No, he really doesn't. And
it's not a rotation. It's not a rotation system.
No, he's firing blanks.
He's like, right, I'm going to do Lascelles and Shaw and maybe Fernandez or Clark at the back or whatever. And but like last season, like you're relying on like Fernandez or Lascelles nicking a header 1-0. We need lacking in a lot of areas, plus playing players out of position. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and it is frustrating. For me, like I don't understand why we gave Dwight Gale an extension if we're not going to play him when we don't have a striker. I don't understand that logic. Now, whether he is being punished for not getting along with management or not, really isn't a feasible argument for me because we weren't playing him last season either. And I still don't understand, like, why, like, I understand. Okay. I'm not going to say I don't understand the extension, right? I do understand the extension because it was cheaper to give him an extension than sign another striker, right? Fair enough, right? And I don't think he's great. I think he's a good championship striker. But he's still not getting on the pitch when we don't have a healthy striker.
I know. I just...
Like, that's what I don't understand, right?
Give him a go.
Give him a go because you never know. Yeah, he's not consistent. Yeah, he's not a great Premier League striker, right? But if it comes down to a 5-goal difference at the end of the day, like he could be good for 5. You never know, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we can't rely on Wilson's hamstring for the whole season, and that's a concern too. And Maxey now carrying us the way he's carrying us, like I think that he's magic, and I love him to death, right? He frustrates me at times, but I know it's because he's trying to do as much as he can do, right? But that also presents a lot of opportunities for injury there. Because what are we going to do if he goes down, right? Who's going to carry that team now? Because it doesn't look like many people want to, and the ones that can aren't physically capable of doing so. Because I love Matt Ritchie and stuff like that, and I still have him on the pitch, right? But his pace does do us when we play him in the back, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. So I think this season, Matt Ritchie, love him to death. Got a great shot on him. Gets stuck in. Leader. Great player. However, lost a yard of pace over the summer.
Exactly. He's
lost a yard of pace. I just saw in the first game, I think it was either West Ham or Southampton. I just thought there was a ball as he was going forward, and I think he either gave it away or something, but I could just tell he's a yard short of pace.
And it's very evident now, and that's frustrating as well because I do love him.
We haven't seen the best of Jamal Lewis since we signed him.
No, we haven't, and that's the thing is he's got pace. I think that when we were playing Maxey on the wing, they didn't link up as well as Jetro Williams did.
No, I agree.
And that was a hinder for him.
Yep.
But I don't understand why he's not getting game time because he's pacey, and you give him the game time, he's going to hopefully learn how to play with that, right? And do at least be good for a corner every now and then, or a cross every now and then, or something. But also he's just got pace, and that's what we've needed in the defensive end, right? Is with what we've got, like we need some pace to make up for the mistakes.
If you look at the potential for the wing, because I'm a big fan of width for Newcastle.
Yeah.
So, Mankio, Maxey, right?
Yeah.
Jamal Lewis and Almiron. I don't know. I'm playing Almiron or something, but I don't know. Almiron's like a Murphy. If you want to switch wingers. Like you can play Maxi. Maxi's best in the wing.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah.
You can either play him if you want to play him as a left cutting in or a right. But he's really playing him as like an attacking kind of 4% forward right now. So what worried me the biggest against Leeds was that we were playing very, very deep. And like Brucey will always comment like, well, I'd really love it if Newcastle got further up the pitch. But the problem is Newcastle, there was times where we played so deep. We just give it to Maxi on the halfway line. He would take on a few players. Yeah. And he's isolated up there.
I know.
But being so deep just invites that pressure on what was happened against Southampton.
Yeah.
That goal. Time and time against West Ham.
Yeah.
And then obviously, Man United. When we played pretty solid. A couple of the goalkeeping goals from Woodman. I think both Ronaldo goals. Woodman. I think Dubravka, maybe Darlow would have probably had those. That was goalkeeping errors, but given the fact is that Newcastle on the counter-attack against United were very, very effective. The goal was great from Manquillo. But I just think teams will look at that and just think Newcastle are counter-attacking football club.
And
if you put pressure on them, they're gonna fall.
Yeah, and that is really the reputation that we're given, and that we'll talk a little bit about Watford, then we'll talk about our last bit because we are cutting it to the hour now. But
good, yeah.
That's my concern with Watford is they've been so attacking, they've been good at creating their chances. It's just not paid off for them, and we're that kind of team where they must be licking their chops going into this weekend, right? And I really, really hope that that we can pull out something different. But because that's the thing is if we can't beat your Watfords and your Norwiches and stuff like that, like where do those points come from?
Right.
Yeah, and that's concerning.
No, exactly. I was going into the Leeds game thinking you haven't beat Villa, you haven't beat Southampton, you haven't beat West Ham. You expect to win a couple of those games. You know, but you get beat off now on all of them, and you can't beat Leeds at home. It's just now no disrespect to Leeds, because I think Leeds are a great team.
I agree.
It just becomes the pressure becomes evident, and Maximum and Maxi after the game was just like we have to believe as a team to win.
Yeah,
believe to win. We have to he's like I scored. He scored the goal, but he was like the team has to believe in themselves to win, which hints at the Steve Bruce's losing the lads a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but we'll come back probably that later in the shows, but about what would be a potential plan for like a rescue plan.
Yeah.
In Mike Ashley's plans. But going into Watford, Steve Bruce will play defensively. Like it's
of course we already know it. Yeah,
because he's away from home in London, and they're going to catch him on the counter attack. Yes, they might play a bit more on the front foot. He'll probably change formation. I don't know what. You know what I mean? I really don't know.
I don't know either, man.
I don't know even. I think he might stick to the same game plan against Leeds, but you draw that game. The pressure's a little easier. You lose that game, the pressure's really on.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking, right, it's October and you're bottom of the league.
Yeah. Exactly.
Second bottom. It depends on because Burnley's not doing well. Around us.
Neither in Norwich, but
no,
we can't rely on losses from other clubs to keep us up.
It's an early 6-pointer. This game's huge. And looking forward to that. Basically, we just got to come up with that with no injuries, play smart, nick a win.
That's really all we've got going for us, and
I just think the players. I think the players are on. I think I'm looking at that team and I'm thinking there's potential. The Murphys,
Yeah,
Sean Longstaff, obviously Wilson, Maxey, Almiron, Willock. That's a great centre midfield. Isaac Hayden when he's fit.
yeah,
That when that unit is in unison, that will give a hard time to the majority of clubs outside the kind of top 6, top 7, top 8.
the greedy 6, yeah.
Huh? The greedy
You mean
6.
the greedy
That's it.
6, right?
Oh, yeah. Slimy buggers. That's it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. 7 a.m. Saturday, breakfast pints.
There we go.
I'll be seeing you there. So before we close out, we should talk a little bit about what the United States going to look like going forward. Like I said at the beginning, this was more the introductory, get to know your host kind of episode 0 of what we've got planned. I'm Shade from San Diego. This is Rich from San Diego, proud Toon Army San Diego supporters. And I'm really happy that Rich is here with me to do this, to kind of get his perspective on things. And I hope that you guys got a good feel for him. But going forward, how we want to do things is the format's going to be pretty much the same going forward in kind of 3 different segments. And so what we want to do is kind of have a bit where we talk about current events and kind of what's going on at the state of our club and whatever match we had that week. And then after that, we want to have key interviews where we feature different guests primarily that are affiliated with the club and based in the United States or have some understanding or have played in the United States. And we've got some pretty good ideas lined up and some good interviews in the works that I'm really excited about. And I'll be able to share. We'll be able to share that with you guys very soon, going into episode 2. And then the last segment of every episode going forward after this one is we're gonna have a guest spot where we feature a Toon Army supporters group in the United States. And so that way that the rest of the Toon Army out there in the world can get a feel for the different groups that we have. You can hear their stories, how they came to be, because there really are some diehard fans out here that I would hope we could not only unite a little better on this side of the world, but also share their stories with fans that want to hear about how these groups came to be and what it's like being a Newcastle fan in say Denver or New York or Virginia or Baltimore, some of those other places. And so that'll be kind of the format going forward, where we really want this to be kind of the place you go to learn about everything going on here. We really want this place to be where you go to learn about the United State of Newcastle United. Oh, you like what I did there? I'm a fan of a good pun.
I know you will. You bugger. That's it.
But Rich, thanks so much. I'm really excited to be doing this with you.
I'm excited. That's it.
Big shout out to Gallowgateshots again. Thank you so much for setting this up and seeing that there are voices to be heard on this side of the world, and that there are people who share the passion and live and die for this club as well. And even though things seem grim at times and everything like that, I love Newcastle United and I'm glad it exists, and I'm grateful for Newcastle no matter what. And I'm really happy to be doing this, and I really can't wait to show you guys what's in store for the future. So thank you very much for tuning in to the United State episode 0, episode 1, whatever you want to call it. And get used to me and Rich talking Newcastle for a while, because we're not going anywhere. All right, Rich, any closing remarks?
No, that's it. Just a huge shout out to Gallowgateshots. Thank you for the opportunity to spread the Newcastle love and this really, bring the fans back together to create this momentum of a voice throughout the world to really promote Newcastle. Because once we get that new owner, it's game on. That's it.
Yeah, I like that. I love the optimism.
That's it.
Right. Thanks again, everyone. All right, Rich, I'll see you Saturday.
Yeah.
All right, bye.